Chapter 1171. I've got an errand to run, so I'll give the Watts residence a miss. I'll go have my meal now, Mr. Graham, Ethan said, then scurried off. Amused, Orissa chided Benjamin, can't you be a little nicer to Ethan? The poor guy's terrified of you. He chuckled, not finding anything wrong in what he did. This is the way I've always been. He wouldn't have stuck with me for so long if he couldn't handle a bit of pressure. He was only putting up an act in front of you. Seeing how unapologetic her husband was, she shook her head in mild exasperation. After eating, Darius and Mary stayed in the ward for a short while before slowly making their way downstairs for a stroll. Intuitive as ever, William and Edwin tidied up the room for a bit, then accompanied the duo downstairs. At present, the only ones left in the room were Benjamin and Orissa. At last, some peace and quiet. He scooted closer to her and fed her some soup. It's not like they were causing a ruckus, Orissa countered. She liked it when things were lively. Frowning, Benjamin pointed out, too much noise will affect your rest. She pouted and made no retort, quickly finishing up her food. Benjamin waited until she was done before he dug into his. The woman leaned against the pillows and watched him eat. He was the picture of elegance as he held up his utensils between his slender fingers. He practically made eating in a ward look like fine dining. Orissa stared at him unabashedly, and a smile played on her lips as she took in his chiseled features. Sensing her intense gaze on him, Benjamin looked up and met her eyes, smirking. Like what you see. Blood rushed to her cheeks, and her eyes glimmered as she quipped, meh. It's all right. Oh, he feigned discontent. If this face of mine is just all right, then the majority of men in this world must be hideous. The corner of Orissa's mouth twitched. Trust him to be so narcissistic. Then again, she had to admit that he had every right to be so confident about his looks. To date, she had not come across any man more handsome than Benjamin. Heaven knows how many other women think you're good-looking, she grumbled. The man raised a brow. Depending on his response, he might just find himself in troubled waters. His survival instincts kicked in as he placated softly, honey, I don't care what other women think, I don't even spare them a glance. Your opinion is the only one that matters to me. Orissa eyed him for a moment and muttered, be that as it may, it won't stop women from throwing themselves at you. Should I disfigure myself, then? He asked warily. PFF'd. She burst out laughing before she could stop herself. At once, her hand flew to her tummy. After all, excessive laughter would cause her already uncomfortable stomach to get worse. Benjamin panicked when he saw her rub her abdomen. He quickly put his utensils down and started rubbing soothing circles on her belly. Is it hurting? No, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Finish your food before it gets cold, Orissa reassured. He scrutinized her for a while, and after making sure she was fine, he resumed eating in relief. She reached out to caress his handsome face, murmuring in mesmerization, it would be a crime to damage this pretty face. If you say so. He glanced up at her with a good-humored smile. Chuckling, she teased, Benjamin Graham, you're getting better at this whole cajoling thing. She could still remember how cold and distant he was when they first met, not to mention sarcastic and sharp-tongued. He seemed to have held her in such contempt back then. But now, I meant what I said, he argued solemnly. I wasn't merely trying to cajole you. Orissa felt warmth course through her. She believed he had meant every word he said. I'm glad I met you. He had made her the happiest woman in the world. Benjamin stroked the tip of her nose affectionately. Why are you getting sentimental all of a sudden? These are heartfelt sentiments, she answered with a grin. At this moment, he was all that she could see. All right, he nodded, equally contented. This life is worth living with you around. She then watched him eat and waited until he was done before asking him about Julian. Chapter 1172. I take it that you've taken care of Julian? Orissa asked as she handed Benjamin a tissue. He bobbed his head. I taught him a lesson, and he has gifted the company to you. Her jaw dropped, and she pointed to herself. Me, for real? Frankly, she was a little skeptical, for she knew how much the family business meant to Julian and his father. Benjamin straightened up the overbed table and put it aside while clarifying, I gave him two options. He could either lose a hand or give up the company. Though the business isn't worth anything, you can still get it back on track if you tie up all the loose ends. Orissa was stumped. Why did you have him sign over a worthless company to me in the first place? He kidnapped you and made you suffer. The least he can do is give up the company and hand it over to you. Don't worry, I'll straighten out the company affairs for you and get it back on track. You'll be the owner of a reputable and profitable business in no time, he promised as he began peeling an apple. She watched his slender fingers at work and slowly fell into a daze. He's more than capable of polishing up the company and getting it back on track. I have nothing to worry about. Still, she was curious about what had happened to Julian. So, you just let him go free after he signed over the company? HMPH. As if I had him castrated. Orissa gaped at him. Did you really? He eyed her thoughtfully and accused, is that sympathy I hear in your voice? She glared at him wordlessly, then snapped, I would never sympathize with that piece of shit. Benjamin stared at her for a moment, astonished. Honey, did you just swear? Oh, I'll do more than swear. She chuckled humorlessly. I might even get a little violent. Are you scared now? He shook his head and pinched her cheek indulgently. I find you absolutely adorable. The woman was at a loss for words. Such masochistic tastes. Don't you think Dad will be upset if he finds out you've castrated Julian? Orissa was somewhat concerned for Darius, who had been plagued with health issues and had been in and out of the hospital recently. Benjamin sliced up the apple and fed her a piece. After she swallowed it, he resumed peeling. I only said I'd castrate him to scare him, he confessed with a scheming smile. Nonetheless, I didn't go easy on him, either. What else did you do? She pressed curiously. I had Sean do a vasectomy on him. He was so terrified that he fainted, he said in a low voice, diving into details of Julian's cowardice. Orissa was shocked at first but cracked up the next second. Serves him right. Julian definitely couldn't have seen Benjamin's deception coming. It's only a vasectomy, but he was made to believe he was getting castrated. I bet he must be traumatized right now. There's a huge difference between castration and sterilization, you know. Won't he learn the truth soon enough? She glanced at him in askance. Unlike castration, sterilization would not do Julian much physical damage. His manhood would still be intact and functioning. An inscrutable smirk tugged on Benjamin's lips. Have some faith in Sean's skills. He's taken measures to make Julian suffer for a while. As long as Julian remains none the wiser, he will never recover from this psychological trauma. He'll never be able to have children. How's that? Only for a while. That's a lifelong loss if you ask me, Orissa pointed out. She was slightly worried that Julian might seek revenge on their family. Benjamin narrowed his eyes. You're acting strange, honey. She caught his jealous gaze and was nonplussed. I'm just worried that he might seek revenge on us, that's all. After all, Benjamin had dealt Julian a rather brutal punishment. A vasectomy is reversible. He can still have children, provided he turns over a new leaf. While Benjamin had not resorted to drastic forms of punishment, Orissa was still moved that he had taught Julian a lesson for her sake. She sighed. Well, here's to hoping he'll change for the better after this. Whether or not Julian would learn from this experience and become a better person would depend on his conscience. If he were to continue wreaking havoc, then Orissa and Benjamin were more than prepared to take him down. He's reckless, but he's not much of a threat, Benjamin stated blandly. He did not think Julian was capable of doing much harm. Orissa gazed at him in puzzlement. Then, what are you worried about? Chapter 1173. A trace of surprise flashed through Benjamin's eyes. You knew. Orissa nodded and reached out to touch his knitted brows. There must be something bothering you since you're frowning. Benjamin chuckled softly, and he shared his analysis in a deep voice. Julian couldn't have come up with such a meticulous plan on his own, given his abilities. There should be someone helping him from behind the scenes. The video of his wife being kidnapped was definitely the work of that mastermind. However, they did not expect Orissa to be skilled in combat. Else, She would not be able to escape so easily. Benjamin felt fortunate that that person was not present at the scene. Did you look into it? Orissa thought about the previous and following incidents, and it seemed that the people who abducted her did not seem very familiar with Julian. Benjamin shook his head. I didn't interrogate Julian. That person will undoubtedly find him again since the kidnapping failed this time. He had already arranged for someone to monitor Julian's movements secretly. The mastermind would eventually be exposed if Julian came into contact with him. I overheard those people talking when we were in the warehouse. It appears that they aren't very familiar with Julian. Could they be hired? Maybe we can pry some useful information out of these people. Orissa shared the information she had with Benjamin, and she hoped it would be helpful to him. Benjamin's eyes glinted, and he looked at Orissa in astonishment. You're right. Ethan is still waiting for updates at that end. You have already made the arrangements, and I'm only telling you now. I don't think I have been much of a help. Orissa looked at him with an enigmatic smile on her face. He's full of stratagems and knew exactly how to handle every situation. She looked at Benjamin in suspicion. Did you already find out who it is? Benjamin fed her another bite of the apple and shook his head. Not yet. It's only a hunch. Who is it? Orissa was curious to know the mastermind who gave Julian this idea. Don't worry about this matter. Just get some rest. Benjamin put down the apple that was not fully cut, and he helped her to lie down. Orissa let out a soft sigh. You're making me lie down after I have just eaten. Benjamin lowered the bed slightly, but it was still more elevated than in a flat position. Is this more comfortable? Orissa smiled and nodded. Yes, it's much better. Benjamin picked up the apple. He continued slicing it and fed Orissa while doing so. Orissa took another mouth and did not feel like eating anymore. I'm done. You can eat it yourself. Benjamin looked at her and asked gently, how about eating some other fruits? Orissa shook her head and pouted her lips. I'm stuffed. I don't want to eat anymore. You can eat later then. Benjamin peeled the remaining apple and ate it. There was a ghost of a smile in Orissa's eyes when she saw him eat. I wonder if the children have arrived yet. Benjamin looked up at Orissa. Seeing that she was worried about the children, he picked up his phone and called Kingsley. The call was picked up quickly. Kingsley asked in a low voice, "Boss, what's the matter?" Benjamin could hear the laughter of the children in the background, and it was lively on the other end. Orissa wants to know if you guys have made it home yet. Benjamin put the phone on speaker so that Orissa could hear the conversation. We've arrived. We've been back for a while now. My grandpa and parents are all doting on the children, but we haven't eaten yet, Kingsley reported. Orissa could hear the liveliness from the other end. The children had already eaten some food at the hospital. They were probably not hungry since dinner had not been served yet. Do take good care of them, Benjamin reminded, noticing that Orissa was silent. They did not have to worry much since the children were having a good time with the Watts family. Don't worry, boss, Kingsley reassured. Kingsley suddenly remembered that he knew nothing about the reason behind Orissa's hospitalization, and he asked, "Boss, why is Orissa hospitalized again?" Chapter 1174. It's some pregnancy complication, Benjamin answered ambiguously. Kingsley did not know that something bad had happened to Orissa, so he assumed nothing could have happened to her since Benjamin was taking care of Orissa. Hence, his imagination went wild, and he conjured up inappropriate scenarios in his mind. He grinned and said, "Boss, you should take it easy. You have to show some restraint since Orissa's condition isn't stable." Sean, who was nearby, happened to hear his response. His lips twitched violently, but he did not tell Kingsley. Sean wanted to hear Benjamin scold Kingsley for his crude remarks. She was kidnapped this afternoon. Benjamin's voice turned cold, and Kingsley could sense the chilliness through the phone. Kingsley shuddered and shouted, "Who the hell kidnapped Orissa? I'm going to skin him." The children who were playing in the living room with the elders turned to look when they heard Kingsley's shout. Victor and the rest also looked toward Kingsley. Kingsley smiled sheepishly. "It's nothing. You guys can continue playing." He moved away while holding his phone before he continued asking, "Boss, why didn't you say so? Is Orissa unharmed? Why should I bother telling you?" Sean has already taken care of it. Benjamin snorted. Kingsley shot a glance at Sean, who shrugged his shoulders. Sean was carefree eating fruit with a smile. Kingsley rolled his eyes. What the heck? He's watching me make a fool of myself. Who's the one who has a death wish and dares to kidnap Orissa? Kingsley asked, and he had no idea who it might be at the current moment. After all, Benjamin had many enemies. Julian. Benjamin's eyes flashed with anger when he saw the bruise on Orissa's wrist. Take care of Gavin and the others. You have to make sure to send them back safely after their meal, Benjamin reminded, and he hung up without waiting for Kingsley's response. Benjamin took the ointment and applied it to Orissa's wrist. The kidnappers had tied her tightly therefore. Orissa winced in pain and pulled her hand back when the ointment touched her skin. Does it hurt a lot? Benjamin's brows knitted, and his heart ached. He pulled Orissa's hand over and gently blew on it to soothe the pain. Orissa's heart skipped a bit when she saw Benjamin seem to be in greater pain than her. It's fine. It only hurts when it touches the ointment, she comforted. Despite how it looked, the injury was not profoundly serious. It would probably take several days for those bruises to fade away. Benjamin held her hand, and his motions were a little gentler. Bear with it. It will be hard for the wound to heal quickly without medication. Okay. Orissa's eyes twinkled, and she fixated her gaze on Benjamin, who was concerned about her. Orissa was very touched. Orissa's eyebrows twitched when Benjamin's hand touched her wrist, but she put up with the pain. When Benjamin looked up at her, she pretended nothing was wrong. Make a sound if it hurts, Benjamin said gently. Okay, Orissa answered and looked at Benjamin, who was concentrating. Benjamin checked her ankle when he finished wiping ointment on the bruises on her wrist. He continued to apply ointment there when he noticed there were some bruises as well. As the injuries on her ankle were not as severe as those on her wrist, Orissa did not experience any discomfort when he applied the ointment. Does it hurt? Benjamin asked again. Orissa shook her head. My ankle doesn't hurt. You have to put your own safety first if you get into such a situation in the future. If you're able to wait for my rescue, then wait. You mustn't upset the other party, Benjamin reminded her with furrowed brows. The kidnappers would definitely wait for him to arrive as their purpose was to threaten him. Hence, Orissa would not be in danger as long as she didn't upset them. Fortunately, they did not have guns this time. Else, Orissa would have been in even greater danger, and it would have been much harder for her to escape. I can protect myself. I wanted to escape because I felt confident. I can't just foolishly stay in their control and let them use me to threaten you. Who knows what those people are capable of? Orissa glanced at Benjamin and muttered, one of the kidnappers even wanted to violate me. Chapter 1175. A cold and murderous intent flashed in Benjamin's eyes. Which one? It seems I have been too merciful and lenient when dealing with those people. I can't believe someone dares to hold improper intentions toward her. A shifty-looking thin guy with a crooked mouth. Orissa described the person. That man would likely make a move on her if it was not for someone else stopping him, along with Julian's timely arrival. Orissa was no longer an innocent and unworldly girl that would show mercy to those who wanted to harm her. Anyone who offended Orissa now would face her retaliation. Moreover, it required drastic actions to deal with such despicable people. Honey, don't worry. I'll take care of these people for you. Benjamin held her tightly and felt extremely apologetic. Poor, you have gone through a lot today. Orissa wrapped her arms around his waist, and a sense of security enveloped her. It's all right. I'm not timid. I wouldn't be restricted if I weren't pregnant. With a weakling like Julian, these people wouldn't be my opponents, she added confidently. Orissa would have given these people a good beating if it were not for her unstable pregnancy, which stopped her from being reckless and using violence. Benjamin felt proud of her, and he lowered his head to kiss her forehead. Honey, you're truly amazing. It's me who's burdening you. Huh? Orissa looked at him in confusion. How have you burdened me? Benjamin touched her belly and let out a chuckle. Isn't this the reason? It's all my fault. Orissa giggled and reached out to pinch his face. I'll have to trouble you to teach them a lesson since I'm currently unable to do so myself. No problem. Benjamin found himself in high spirits. After all, Orissa seldom ever requested his help, so he was determined to do that. Orissa suddenly remembered that those people had all been taken to the police station. She furrowed her brow and asked, "They're all at the police station. How are you going to teach them a lesson?" Benjamin pinched her nose, and he had his own plan. "That's not a problem. I have my ways." Orissa knew that he had numerous strategies. She leaned against him and took a few deep whiffs of his scent. "Are you done dealing with your company matters?" Orissa knew that Benjamin must have been extremely worried after knowing she had disappeared. "I can handle them later. It's not urgent." Benjamin caressed her head and accompanied her for a while. Orissa was still on the drip. Benjamin held her in his arms, and she started to feel a bit sleepy. "Benjamin, I feel sleepy," she murmured. "Go on. I'll be here." Benjamin kissed her forehead and covered her with a blanket. Orissa opened her eyes slightly to look at him and murmured softly, "But I haven't showered." Benjamin lowered his gaze and touched her cheek lovingly. "Shall I help to wipe you down?" Orissa's pregnancy was unstable, so he didn't want her to move around too much. "Okay," Orissa responded sheepishly. It was not the first time he had helped her with this, so it didn't make a difference. "You can lie down for a bit. I'll go fetch some water." Benjamin got up and went to the door. He instructed the bodyguard at the entrance not to let anyone in before locking the door. Benjamin went to the bathroom to fetch water for Orissa. Benjamin also changed Orissa into a clean set of pajamas, which he brought along when he returned home earlier. Orissa felt good wearing her own pajamas. "You can go to sleep now." Benjamin helped her lie down and adjusted the bed to a flat position. Orissa watched him busying around, and she fell asleep very soon. After their walk, Darius and Mary made their way upstairs. They wanted to enter the ward, but they were stopped by the bodyguards at the door. "What are you doing?" Darius glared at the two bodyguards. "Mr. Graham just instructed us not to let anyone in," the bodyguard truthfully replied. Darius and Mary exchanged glances. Could she be sleeping already? Mary was not sure about the situation inside. Would she have slept this early? Chapter 1176. The door opened, and Benjamin came out while the two elders were speculating about what was happening. "Dad, you should go and have a rest. She has already fallen asleep." "Grandaunt, you should rest early too," Benjamin said. Darius and Mary peered inside and saw that Orissa was indeed asleep, so they did not enter. "All right, I'll return to my ward first. You have to take care and don't overwork yourself," Darius reminded him before he turned to go back to his ward. "Benjamin, how about I take over for you tonight?" Mary offered to help, as she was worried that Benjamin would be too exhausted. "It's all right, Grandaunt. It'll be easier once her drip is finished. I'll stay with her. You can go and rest first. Don't worry about her, otherwise, she will be worried about you if she finds out you're here." Benjamin got Edwin to take Mary back to her ward. "There is no need for Edwin to accompany me. I can go back by myself. He's pretty busy." Mary shook her hand and headed back to her ward alone. "Edwin, you can head back too. We're fine here," Benjamin stated. Edwin nodded. "Mr. Graham, I'll go in and get something." Edwin entered the room and tidied up the food containers. He wanted to take Orissa's clothes back for washing when he noticed that she had changed, but Benjamin asked him to leave them. "There's no need to take her clothes back for the time being. You can just leave them here. When Gavin and the others come back tonight, I'll have to trouble you to take care of them," Benjamin uttered. "Mr. Graham, please don't worry about the children. I will take good care of them. You can be at ease and stay here with Mrs. Graham. Let me know if you need anything, and I'll bring them for you," Edwin responded as he packed up the items he tidied. "All right, the driver will send you back," Benjamin replied. He walked to the bedside, checking the drip bottle. Edwin took a glance at Benjamin and Orissa before he made his way out. He also helped to close the door on his way out. Benjamin remained by Orissa's side while handling his work. He had not dealt with the issue of the kidnappers yet. At the very least, Benjamin had to wait for Sean to return to the hospital and watch over Orissa before he could leave with peace of mind. At that moment, Sean was having dinner at the Watts residence. The place became very lively upon the arrival of the children. Everyone focused on the 6 adorable children at the dining table. All of them wanted to feed them the most delicious food. Here, children, there's enough for everyone. Victor was full of smiles, and he gave them helpings of food. Victor joyfully looked at the angelic-looking children, and he was unable to take his eyes off them even for a second. Thank you, old Mr. Watts. The 6 children, under Gavin's lead, politely expressed their gratitude. Victor chuckled heartily, and he was really happy. I'm 1 generation older than your grandpa. It's a win for me. The children found his words hilarious. The others also gave food to the children, and they were competing to get the children's attention. Seeing this scene, Kingsley felt truly impressed with Arissa. Her strategy worked like a charm. Everyone had no time to pay attention to him now that they were trying to grab the children's attention. Kingsley chuckled discreetly and tried hard to lie low. He did not join in and quietly ate his meal in a corner of the dining table. Sean looked at the people surrounding the children and smiled. How did you come up with the idea of bringing them here for a meal? Kingsley glanced at him and whispered, it's to divert the attention of Grandpa and the others. They are trying to force me to go on blind dates. Sean was speechless. Stop talking. Eat more. Kingsley quickly picked up his fork and continued eating. There would be nothing left if he did not hurry. Gerald took the plate of chicken wings away just when Kingsley's fork was about to reach for it. Gerald divided it among the 6 children. Dad, I wanted to eat that too. Kingsley protested in a low voice. Gerald did not hear him. Even if he did, he had no time to entertain him. It's quite effective. Sean smiled. Of course. Kingsley was proud. But you can't bring them home every day, can you? Sean remarked. Kingsley glared at him and added, if it weren't for them, do you know Grandpa and the others would definitely have scolded you. Chapter 1177. Sean froze, and it took him a while to understand the implication behind Kingsley's words. The corner of his mouth twitched as he asked, what are you criticizing me for? It can't be because of what I think it is. What do you think? Kingsley shot him a withering look as he took another bite of food, then muttered, delicious. Under normal circumstances, Kingsley would not be eating such fine cuisine. Clearly, the family chef had gone all out to prepare a feast for the 6 kids this time. Presently, Sean withdrew his gaze and resumed eating in silence. I wonder why Ethan didn't come over today. Kingsley leaned close to Sean and whispered, apparently, you and I spend so much time together that Grandpa's started to worry I might be into men. Now, he's forcing me to go on blind dates so that I can continue the Watts family bloodline. This was the real purpose of this evening's dinner. Sean immediately put some distance between himself and Kingsley, then glared at the latter. He could not believe that Kingsley had the audacity to blame him. Obviously, the problem lies with you, so why am I getting dragged into this? Sean asked defensively. Kingsley was the one who was always sticking close to him. I don't have a problem. Kingsley argued righteously, looking completely unapologetic. Sean chuckled dryly. Now he's really asking for it. Why don't you come with me to the hospital later? So I can give you a thorough checkup. Maybe you do have a thing for men, after all. This earned Sean a kick from Kingsley under the dining table, but he countered it with an even harder one. Ow! Kingsley cried in pain. At once, everyone's gaze turned on him, then flickered over to Sean. The meaningful look in everyone's eyes left the pair flustered. An awkward pause later, Kingsley said, let's eat. He glared at Sean unhappily. The kick would surely leave a bruise. Did he have to kick me so hard? Meanwhile, Gerald gave his son a disapproving look. Don't yell at the dinner table. Dad, Sean kicked me. Kingsley explained piteously. Why am I the only one getting scolded? You must have done something to aggravate him. Serves you right. Gerald snapped. It was a little sad that this remark came from Kingsley's own father. He eyed Gerald resentfully and grumbled, I'm starting to wonder who's your biological child here, me or Sean. You should be embarrassed, seeking attention like this in front of everyone. All you ever do is cling to Sean when you should be out there looking for a girlfriend. Victor Watts' frigid gaze locked onto Kingsley, causing the latter to shrink into himself. I have a girlfriend, old Mr. Watts. Sean hastily interjected to make clear that he did not have any special relationship with Kingsley. Victor was astonished. Gerald and Emily Watts turned to look at Sean with wide eyes. Even Kingsley was baffled. He hung out with Sean almost every day, so he definitely would have known if Sean was seeing someone romantically. Still reeling from the shock, Kingsley demanded, "You have a girlfriend? Why don't I know about this?" Sean glanced at him impassively, then said in a rather cryptic manner, "Because she hasn't agreed to go out with me yet." Kingsley felt speechless at this. "See, even Sean has gone and gotten himself a girlfriend. When are you going to bring a girl home?" "I want a granddaughter-in-law," Victor demanded. He wanted a great-grandchild more than anything else. He was even more determined to realize that dream after meeting and spending time with the 6 adorable children from the Graham family. "Grandpa, it's not as if Sean is actually dating someone right now. He might even be fooling all of us. I, for one, have certainly never met or heard about this mysterious girlfriend of his." Kingsley protested. He refused to believe that Sean was seeing someone. Sean spent so much time cooped up in his laboratory that he might as well be romantically interested in his medical equipment. Victor gave Kingsley a dark look. "Spare me the excuses. I cannot believe you have the nerve to accuse Sean of lying when you can't even get a girl to be interested in you. At this rate, Sean could very well end up having his own family before you." Kingsley let out a scoff of disbelief. He thought the attention had been taken off him after Sean's unexpected announcement. "Grandpa, perhaps we should talk about this some other day when Gavin and the other kids aren't here. I promise I'll give you a great-grandchild someday and let you have all the fun you want, okay?" Satisfied with Kingsley's assurance, Victor let the matter drop. "You'd better keep your word, boy, or I'll break both your legs," the old man threatened. "Yes, yes. Making great-grandchildren takes time, Grandpa. They don't just grow on trees, you know. Besides, why are you in a rush? Old Mr. Graham's just a grandfather now, but you'll be a great-grandfather before he does. That's worth the wait, right?" Kingsley placated. Hearing this, Victor rolled his eyes at his quick-witted grandson, then turned his attention back to Gavin and the other children at the dining table. Chapter 1178. Kingsley imperceptibly gave the children a meaningful look. Thankfully, Gavin and his siblings were bright enough to understand what they should do next and proceeded to distract the adults at the table. "Old Mr. Watts, I want some of that," Jessie said softly, sounding so endearing that the adults around her could not help wanting to indulge in her every whim. "All right, I'll get it for you," Victor said tenderly as he gave her a helping of the dish she had pointed at earlier. He loved spoiling her. Delighted, Jessie said politely, "Thank you, old Mr. Watts." Her dimples could melt even the coldest of hearts. "I want some of that, too, old Mr. Watts," Jasper said. "There's plenty more to go around." Victor gave Jasper a helping, too. "We want some, too, old Mr. Watts," the other kids chorused. At once, Gerald and Emily quickly gave them helpings of the food. They were happy to see the children dine so heartily. "Ah, it feels good to be left alone." Kingsley sighed in relief. Having taken pleasure in his friend's misfortune earlier, Sean smirked. "Do you really have a girlfriend?" Kingsley suddenly asked, curious. Sean gave him a look. He decided to continue with his pretense and nodded solemnly as he said, "Yes." Kingsley's jaw dropped, but he refrained from exclaiming in shock this time. Instead, he pressed in hushed tones, "Who? Is it somebody I know? Damn, when did Sean get himself a girlfriend? More importantly, how did he keep this from me?" "You don't know her," Sean said. That much was the truth. "I don't even know her myself. Let's all go out together sometime." Convinced, Kingsley nudged Sean playfully and chided, "Wow, I can't believe you got some action even though you spend your days living in your lab. You're not seeing someone from work, are you? A fellow doctor or a nurse at the hospital, perhaps? Now, that would make for a plausible theory. After all, who else would cross paths with Sean every day aside from those who worked at the hospital?" Sean made no reply and carried on eating, leaving Kingsley to make his own guesses. After dinner, the adults could not wait to spend time with the 6 children, who did not let Kingsley down and kept everyone happily occupied. They were ecstatic to have received monetary gifts, too. Later that evening, Sean got a call from Benjamin. Initially, Sean thought it might have something to do with Arissa, but it turned out Benjamin only wanted to know when he would be going back to the hospital. Glancing at the time, Sean had a feeling that Benjamin must have something to attend to, so he said, "I can go back now." "All right. We'll talk once you're here." Benjamin hung up after that. Sean told Kingsley he was leaving. "Boss wants me to get back to the hospital. I think something came up. You coming?" As he spoke, he appraised Kingsley in an almost roguish sort of way, and Kingsley could not help but feel that he had been challenged. With a roll of his eyes, Kingsley said, "Go ahead without me. I'm busy, and I don't think the kids will be leaving anytime soon, either." As of now, the kids had become the center of the elders' attention. If he took the kids away now, he could easily make enemies of his own kin. "I'll be leaving then." After excusing himself from the present company, Sean left the Watts residence. A while later, Kingsley checked the time and piped up tentatively, Grandpa, I told Boss I'd send the children home by a certain time." Victor had Jessie in his lap, and he was reluctant to see the children leave. "Ask Benjamin if the children could stay over for the night. I can even drop them off at school tomorrow since it's so close." Bye. Indeed, the Watts residence was a lot closer to the children's school than Yaleview. Kingsley stared at his grandfather as he twitched his lips. "Is he trying to kidnap the children now?" Emily chimed in as well. "Yes, do ask Benjamin if the children can stay over for just one night." She was having a great time with the kids. Right now, she was feeding Tim, who was perched in her lap and welcoming every bite of food shyly. So precious. Gerald was preoccupied with two kids in his lap. He asked affectionately, "Well, what do you say, kids? Would you like to stay here for the night?" The kids exchanged a look. They didn't think there was anything wrong with staying at the Watts residence for the night, since Benjamin and Arissa would not be home. However, they had to tell Arissa they were staying over at Victor's place, or she would be worried when she went home to find all of them missing. "Mr. Watts, we'll stay over if Mommy says we can," Gavin answered on behalf of his siblings. Chapter 1179. Gavin called Arissa, only to find that her phone was switched off. He glanced at those around him and said, "Mommy's phone has been switched off." "Try calling your father, then," Victor suggested, smiling at the child expectantly. Gavin called Benjamin, who picked up after the first ring. "What is it?" Benjamin asked as soon as he picked up, though his voice was barely above a whisper. Finding this odd, Gavin asked curiously, "Daddy, why are you being so quiet? Is Mommy there?" Benjamin did not want to wake Arissa, so he took the call outside the hospital room. "Your mother's sleeping. Why are you looking for her?" he asked in his normal voice after he had closed the door behind him. "Old Mr. Watts would like us to stay over for the night, is that okay?" Gavin asked. He could not seek permission from Arissa now, so he would have to settle for Benjamin's approval instead. Benjamin stood in the corridor as he considered this. He had no objection to his children sleeping over at Victor's place. "Do all of you want to stay over at the Watts residence?" Gavin beamed. "Yeah, besides, even if we go back home, you and Mommy won't be there. We figured we'd stay here instead. Everyone else is okay with it, and this way, you and Mommy won't have to worry about us." Benjamin quirked a brow. "I'm assuming none of you have a spare change of clothes." "Edwin's probably at Yaleview now. Give him a call and have him send your clothes over." "Got it, Daddy. Take good care of Mommy at the hospital. We'll visit her tomorrow," Gavin said, sounding much older than his actual age. "I'll take good care of the other kids, too. Don't make trouble while you're at the Watts residence, all right? Be good and don't stay up past your bedtime," Benjamin reminded. Following that, Benjamin hung up and gave Edwin a call, telling him to send the kids' clothes over. He also told Edwin to stay over at the Watts residence to keep an eye on the kids. Having done all this, he headed back into the room. Arissa was sound asleep. In the quietude of the room, Benjamin went through paperwork while waiting for Sean to return. The moment Sean arrived at the hospital, he made a beeline for Arissa's room without changing clothes. "Boss, did you need something?" he asked as soon as he reached the door. Benjamin put up a hand as though in greeting, then rose to go out of the room. He closed the door behind him and said to Sean, "Thanks for coming back. I need you to watch Arissa for me while I straighten out some matters at the police station." Sean understood what Benjamin was going to do. Nodding, he replied, "Leave this to me." Benjamin checked the time. The sooner he wrapped things up at the police station, the sooner he could come back. With that in mind, he hurried off to the police station with Ethan in tow. It did not take long for the dozen or so kidnappers from the other day to be brought out of the detention center. Thinking that their boss had bailed them out, the men left the center happily. However, the grins were wiped off their faces when they saw Benjamin and Ethan waiting for them outside. "What do you guys want now?" one of the men asked, filled with dread. They were in a much more dangerous position now than they had been back at the police station. "Mr. Graham would like you to clarify a couple of things," Ethan said curtly, cracking his knuckles as if to warn the men to stay in line. The men's leader eyed Ethan and Benjamin warily. "Wah, what do you want to know? Who do you work for?" Ethan cut to the chase. "We were hired by Mr. Julian," the leader answered but did not elaborate any further. Benjamin narrowed his eyes, then jerked his chin in the direction of the men. Seeing this, Ethan immediately grabbed the leader's shirt and pulled it aside, revealing the scorpion tattooed on the man's chest. "Mr. Graham, these men work for Justin," Ethan concluded as he shoved the man away in disgust. Now that his cover was blown, the man whose shirt had been grabbed faltered. He stared at Ethan and Benjamin in horror. "That guy moved so quickly that I couldn't even dodge him." A dark look came into Benjamin's eyes as he surveyed the men before him. Finally, his menacing gaze fell on a man with distinct features. "You touched my wife." Benjamin sounded more like he was stating a fact than making an accusation. When the man in question sensed the murderous rage burning behind Benjamin's obsidian eyes, he shuddered. Mr. Graham, I would never be so bold as to do something like that." What else could he do but deny? Chapter 1180. Malice flashed in Benjamin's eyes. Before the man with the distinct features could react, Benjamin had thrown a dagger between his legs, stabbing him dead in the crotch. At once, the man gaped at Benjamin in horror. A blood-curdling scream filled the air the next second. Arg! The dozen or so kidnappers were mortified. The fear they had for Benjamin was clearly written on their faces. Some of them even wet their pants. "You," the leader of the men dared not speak up. Benjamin was a terrifying force to be reckoned with, and to touch his wife was to seek death. After witnessing Benjamin's wrath, the leader could not help thinking it was a miracle that he and his men were still alive. Presently, Benjamin's gaze was stormy as he glowered at the screaming man who was bleeding between the legs. "Who do you think you are to go and touch my wife? Please spare me, Mr. Graham." The man fell to his knees, choosing to endure the inhuman pain if it meant he could survive. Benjamin gave Ethan a look. Nodding, Ethan led a team of bodyguards forward, then proceeded to beat up the kidnappers. Agonized wails and cries echoed through the confined space, but no one came to rescue them. The injuries they had sustained from the last round of beating had barely healed before these new ones were added. All they could do was beg for mercy. Benjamin was impassive as he watched the violent brawl in front of him. Ethan and the bodyguards pulled no punches. A hard lesson had to be taught, after all. It was not until the kidnappers looked like they were on the verge of death that Benjamin finally signaled his men to stop. "Bring them back to the detention center. Make sure they stay alive." "Yes, Mr. Graham." Ethan did as he was told and sent these kidnappers back the way they came. Throughout the journey, the kidnappers had sacks pulled over their heads. They had no idea how they came out of the detention center and back, but they have a newfound fear for Benjamin. Right now, their best hope was for Justin to send someone to bail them out. Alas, that turned out to be nothing more than wishful thinking. The moment Justin realized they had slipped up, he sent someone to kill them off. He had only just given the orders when the deafening boom of an explosion made him fall off his chair. Justin got on his feet and glared at his subordinates by the door, demanding angrily, "What the hell is going on?" At that moment, another subordinate hurtled through the door and reported frantically, "Mr. Rogers, someone just blew up your car. Justin blanched. He hurried out of the house, only to see angry flames and black smoke rising from his favorite sports car. Who did this? He hollered. Is there a rat among us? A grimace twisted his features. His subordinates exchanged a quick look, then said, someone threw a bomb from outside. Just then, another bomb came flying toward Justin's mansion, its trajectory visible above Justin's head. Mr. Rogers, run! The subordinates quickly dragged Justin away. With an ear-splitting boom, the mansion blew up behind them, its pillars and beams completely destroyed. Justin and his subordinates could not run away in time, and the shockwave from the bomb sent them flying. However, none of them sustained any life-threatening injuries. Damn it! Who's out to get me? Justin heaved himself up with some effort. He looked like a mess, with ashes in his hair and dirt on his face. Even his clothes were torn. This is just a warning. Any more funny business from you and we'll let you meet your maker. Ethan was speaking through a megaphone as he stood outside the damage zone, not at all fearing that he would be seen. In fact, he wanted Justin to know they were behind this. Justin narrowed his eyes, enraged by Ethan's audacity. Go see who it is. Yes, sir. The subordinates immediately ran in the direction of the voice. When they saw Ethan, they panicked and fell back. Mr. Rogers. It's Ethan, the guy who works for Benjamin Graham. They reported. Benjamin Graham. Seething with rage, Justin looked at the ruins of his house and felt hatred fill him. All my men did was kidnap his wife, and this is the way Benjamin reacted. His bloodlust sure is something else. Those idiots. Justin snarled. Have someone go into prison and take care of them. I don't ever want to see them again. What a bunch of incompetent morons. Malice flashed in Justin's narrowed eyes as he contemplated his next move. He decided that he would make Julian pay for all his loss.